Hey, how's it going, guys? We got some people online as well. Let's get started. I know what is it, Memorial Day weekend? Yeah.
It's gonna be coming up, yeah.
Are you guys off on Monday?
Yeah, we are.
Okay. A lot of people are off this weekend, probably taking a trip or going out of town. But we want to make sure that, hey, we continue, right, to learn our craft, right? I have some people coming right now. They just text me. But ideally, I think last time we spoke about doing appointments, right? We talked about the presentation. I don't know, were you able to look through it at all?
Yeah.
Okay. So that's fairly simple, right? The concepts are simple. We want to be able to train as many people as we can with those concepts. But then what's next, right, after that? So we did this presentation. We figured out, hey, there's only a couple of things that are going to come out of it. One is going to be referrals. Hey, how's it going, Mary J? One is going to be referrals, right? The one is going to be client related, which means we're going to have to start picking up some information, or we're going to have to start getting some commitments. That's actually what we're going to go over today. Or the next one is going to be being part of the team, right? So we call that doing an IBA, right? Which is an independent business application for the licensing process. All right, so it's either going to be the FNA or the IBA. Those are your two options. And then we'll talk about referrals, which is our third option on how we're going to be able to pick up those referrals, right? So, did the presentation. We asked that the three things, remember, at the end of the presentation, what would benefit you the most, right? What doing your analysis, getting some benefits as far as your financial situation. 2, becoming licensed, being part of the business. Or 3, helping us expand, become a regional vice president, right? So those are that's the last section on the presentation. So now they say something, right? Because we be quiet and they're going to say something, right? So if they say, hey, I want to look at my financial situation, that is financial needs analysis information. That's what we're going to go over today. MJ, there's a staple, some papers right there. That's what we're going to go over right there for you. If you have so you can take some notes. And then also the IBA part, which is filling out the application to start licensing process, right? So either they're going to start the licensing process, or if they're licensed, we're going to do the IBA anyway, right? And it's $25 to appoint their license, right? Not a biggie on that, which is basically their portal payment. Okay, so let's jump right into it. Let's jump. The first one is going to be. There you go. Okay. So it would just mess up as soon as we start, right?
Technology.
Yeah. Let's see if we can. Right. It works. There you go. All right, so there we go. That's our key concepts that we're going to talk about, right? The goals after presenting, right? The new teammate, the client, the referrals, right? Who do you know? We're going to talk about all 3 of those today. And there's only those 3, guys. I mean, basically anything after that, you're just going to be chit-chatting, and there's nothing to be done, right? If they're nice, you can stay there a couple of more minutes. If they're not, let's cut it short, right? Don't waste your time, don't waste my time, that kind of stuff. But it's only these 3 things, okay, that you want to get, right? So let's start with the financial needs analysis, right? So you got the questionnaire in there. This is, I have it on a PDF form, so I can write over it with my pen on my iPad. You can do that, or you can just print it out. I'll send you the PDF, and you can carry a couple of them with you, right? But this goes along with what we talked about in the presentation, which is the financial concept, right? That's the analysis. And then again, confidential. A lot of people's like, what are you going to do with this information? It's only between me and you, right? Or between us who are sitting here if it's a training appointment, okay? Sometimes if you're uncomfortable, let's say, MJ, met with one of your family members. They're like, I don't want MJ seeing anything, right? Then that's great. I'll tell MJ, okay, I'll take the information. It's between us 2, and I'll put the plan together, okay? Not a big deal on that. You'll see that you're not going to get anything that's really confidential, or that you don't need to get anything that's super confidential, right? So let's start off with page 1, okay? So if you flip that over, page 1, it's going to be on there our personal information. We're going to have some, names, right? Husband, wife, kids, right? If they're single, just them, right? We're going to start with that, and then we're going to start with their address. Key things on here, right? Personal information, contact and mobile, right? Contact, which is mobile and email, is going to be the most important information you get outside of, their date of birth and stuff. Because remember, we're going to add these guys to to our CRM, right? So if we don't add a good email or a good phone number, then we're not going to be able to send them campaigns or anything like that, right? Social Security, not necessary, okay? When we do the analysis, or when we do remember, we're going to do some builder illustrations, right? We're going to do a bunch of things. We don't need the socials for these, okay? Even for your CRM, you don't need to add the social. So the most important is a good contact number and email, and obviously date of birth helps when we're doing a builder illustration and so forth, right? So you can see here, we're going to jump into their address, right? And then at the bottom, we're going to ask them a couple of questions, because we're already getting this information. The first question is, would you like to be debt-free at retirement? Okay. Now, most people are going to say yes, because, no one wants to have a lot of debt. Yeah. No one wants to have a lot of debt, right? The next one is, is protecting your family, right? In case I pass, is that important to me? Right? Is that important to you? Some people are like, well, I don't have a family. Not important. Right? So we'll put no on there. Okay? So these are some of the things that when we're putting a plan together, it's going to help you, and it's going to help us bring something that's really going to be beneficial for them. Yes?
I have a question. You probably will get it later.
Mm-hmm.
I understand we don't need social for here, but if they sign on and, we're going to do annuities, will they need it as social?
Yeah. If we're going to do an application for any product, yes, they're going to need their social.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Right? Is retiring early with enough money important to you? Okay? Some people think they're not going to retire. I've had that too. Like, Henry, I don't think I'm ever going to retire. That's not important to me. Okay, great, right? This is because we're getting a feel of how we're going to put this plan together. All right? Saving for my kids, if they have little ones. Is saving for my kids in their college or their future important to me? A lot of people, believe it or not, they prefer to save for their kids than for their own retirement. Right? So if that's really what they feel like here, they're going to say yes. Right? Which we know, we got to show them that that's not the right way, right? But at this point, what we're doing, again, is seeing how we're going to help them, getting information, right? So we got a couple of yes and no questions there that we're going to be able to fly through, right? Let me see.
Yeah, that's it. No.
Okay, there you go. So then we move on to our second page here. A couple of more pieces of information. Now we're going to get work information, right? Where do they work? You don't necessarily get the address. You can always Google that. That's not a big deal. But most people, I work at this place. This is the address, and so forth, right? And we get work for both. Now, this is really important, right? Because if both of them are bringing income, then both need insurance, right? If the husband is the main breadwinner, he needs more insurance than the lady, or vice versa, right? So this is really important. And one's like, I work hard. I'm a stay-at-home mom. That's the hardest work ever, right? And so we want to make sure we get that information. Again, occupation is really important, right? Because if we're doing insurance, guess what? Some of these things are not applicable, right? Non-insurable, that kind of stuff, right? So we're going to grab that information, and then we're going to show them and tell them what the process is. Look, this is the reason we're getting this information. We're completing some information. We're going to come back, and right here is I want you guys to invite them to our once a month How Money Works, right? Is another chance for them to see and understand these concepts. And if they have, and again, they might have more questions, they can talk to me while we're here, right? And so you tell them, hey, May 29th, we're going to have this at our office. Are you available to come? We'd love for you and your family to come. We're going to have some snacks and stuff like that. Okay? And then 3 is we're going to come back with some solutions, and we're going to start implementing a couple of those. Right? So that's the process. Okay? So they know why we're getting this information. We don't want to just say, I need all this information, and they don't know what's going on. Okay?
Never mind, I just want it.
Right? And so now we're going to jump into some specifics. I tell them, look, now we're going to get into some things that are really going to help us create a good plan, right? One is, are you currently retired? They're going to say no. And if you want to retire at what age? Which is basically Social Security age we want to get in there, right? So either 65, 67, 70, those are going to be your averages. If someone says, I want to retire earlier, then you scratch it and right underneath put 55 or whatever, right? So obviously we got to make sure that they have some money to retire with, right? What percent of our income would we want to receive in retirement? That's really important, because if we're putting some plans together, we were just talking about this earlier, right? If they have a lot of money, then they can take out a good chunk of money a month to live with. If they have no money, then hey, we need to work on making some more money, right? So this is really helpful for us to talk to them about this, right? What is their current income, right? And then theirs and their spouse, okay? Most people are going to be in a 12%, 22% tax bracket. We can look that up. We don't need to get their taxes or none of that stuff, okay? But at least we need to know what their gross is, okay? That's before taxes and health insurance and all that good stuff, right? So, would you like to contribute to your child's education? Right? We kind of already, if they said yes on the other one, for sure it's going to be say yes. Now we're going to ask them for percentages, right? 25, 50, 100%, right? Because college right now, it is super expensive, right? And we're talking about $100,000 saved for a 4-year okay college. Easy, okay? So if they said 25%, that means our goal would be what? To save $25,000. If their goal is 50, what do we have to do is save 50,000, right? Just on average, right? Our system has the updated ones, okay? So that's why we just need percentages. We don't need to know exactly how much it costs right now and none of that, because they'll give us the averages of the colleges, okay? So again, the tips here is basically show them the steps. Hey, we would like you to come to our office. A lot of people come into the office, it gives them okay, they're working out of a place. It's not just MJ working out of the trunk of her car, right? It's not like that. And then already let them know we're going to implement some of these concepts. Okay? Questions on that, guys? All right. So then we're going to jump onto our next page, right? Which is going to be already starting to fill out some actual information, right? Now, they might not have it at hand, right? They might say, Henry, I know this is how much it pays because they take it out of my check every month, right? Or they take it out of my bank draft every month. I don't know the exact numbers. That's great. If you can find them right now, get on your phone. If not, I'm going to leave you a little homework, all right? But we're going to start with our foundation just like we talked about with our presentation, right? So we're going to start with our foundation, right? What's your coverages? Do you have life insurance now? And what is your coverages and what is your cost for each policy? So in the industry, no one really does family policies anymore. Okay? So now everyone does individual policies. Yeah. We used to do family policies as well. Even us, we moved to individual policies. The only riders we can add on there is our kids, which is, a lot better. But now everyone has individual policies. So we'll go with the what? What's the total coverage? So if the husband says, I'm covered for $300,000, we'll put $300,000 there, and then we'll put the cost right next to it. My policy is $100 a month, right? Wife, I don't have any coverage because I don't work, then $0, right? And the kids are not covered. Most of the time in the industry, they don't have kids riders, right? So they typically don't cover them. or they just have a policy on their own separate, right? So we'll put that information there. Notice, I typically say, you know, if they don't have anything, just like, Henry, we don't have anything, we just have it through work, put the work in there, okay? They have $300,000 at work and they pay two cents from their paycheck every 2 weeks, right? Because it's super cheap, right? But let's make sure we put it on there. Yeah, it's a group policy, right? But I tell them, look, ideally, and you can see it right there, that all the experts say you should have 8 to 10 times your coverage, or I mean your income, as far as coverage. So if they have a small coverage, then we might need to increase that, right? If they have a lot of coverage and they don't make as much, then we probably need to what? Lower it, right? Because we don't make 8 to 10 times more on that end, okay? So we'll do that, and then we're going to move into our second story there, which is our wills. Do they have a will, a living will? It's either a yes or no, right? A piece of paper that's notarized is not a will, okay? But I wrote this down and it's notarized. It's not a will, okay? That is that's better than nothing, obviously, but it's not a will in the state. It's not considered a will in the state of Texas, right? So they're going to tell you yes or no. Do they have an emergency fund? What's their balance, right? Sometimes they have all their money in emergency fund. They're not investing, right? So they will say, yeah, I have a savings account. It has $5,000. It has $1,000. Or they might say, yep, I've been saving. I have $100,000 in my checking account. Whatever they say in there, that's what we're going to put on there, right? So now this is giving us ideas on what? If they have money to invest, right? Can we help them with those, grow that money, or what exactly are they doing with that, right? Then we go to our third one, which is they're investing in savings, right? We're going to talk about each individual, husband and wife. Actually, that's a typo there. We need to put wife in there instead of husband, right? We make sure we take care of that typo there, right? But we're going to talk about retirement. What is their balances? And do they have non-retirement savings? CDs, annuities, those kind of things. We're going to talk about their balances there. And then are they contributing? Are they contributing to the retirement monthly, per check? And are they contributing to their non-retirement monthly per check? Right? And then we're going to do the wives as well. We're going to do the same thing. Again, sometimes one is working and the other one's not working. So you might have zeros in one and then just one, okay? Because ideally, remember, if they're filing their jointly, they can always do a retirement account for their wife or vice versa for the person that's not working. As long as they're filing jointly, they can open up accounts as well.
And this works nowadays, there's that FIRE movement where people are saving their money and retiring early. And so it's great that they're like, work 2 jobs when you're in your 20s, early 30s, and invest one.
All right, so we're going to get that information, and then, hey, we're going to go into a couple of goals, right? What do we want to do, right? Maybe you already have an idea when the first couple of questions, they want to retire early, they want to buy a home, they want to go on a certain vacation. How much does it cost? And are they saving anything right now monthly towards this, right? If they are, great, we'll put it on there. If they're not, then just leave zeros on there. But get at least 1 or 2 goals, right? Don't leave it blank, because a lot of people, they do want some things, or they are moving towards some things. They just don't want to say it, or they're scared they're never going to get it, right? But just say, hey, let's put at least 1 goal in there, okay? And then our last, which is at the top, is how much can they commit to set aside for this whole financial house, right? Outside of what you are already contributing, if we can do anything with these things, that's better. But that would be outside what they're already contributing, okay? So if they say, I put on there per family, I see $200 or $400 a month they can set aside for that. Say, Henry, yeah, I'm going to be on the low end. I can set aside $200. Well, great. So we have $200 to work with, right?
Are you still right here on the savings portion?
No, we're up here,
Oh, okay.
all the way at the top where it says your commitment.
Already gone through it.
Yeah, we already gone through this. So again, we want to do it. We want to do it the way that we are talking to the client about, right? Foundation, wills, then wills, emergency fund, investing and saving, goals, and then what's their commitment. And then last, we're going to talk about their debt situation. Because if we can help them with this, that's going to help alleviate all the other, most of the other stuff there, right? And so we're going to talk about a couple of, there's really two debts that most people have, which is the mortgage, their biggest debt, and then everything else is going to be included on separate debts, which includes car, credit cards, student loans, personal loans, right? If they owe their family members some money and they're paying them monthly, put it on there, because we can put it on the analysis, okay? So if they say, I owe mom $10,000 because she lent me for a car, I'm paying her $100 a month, great, let's put it on there. Okay? Because it's a debt they have, and they have obligation to what? They're paying it, right? And so even though they might not be charging them interest, whatever the case is, okay? Questions on that?
No.
All right? So you can see pretty well it talks about all the stuff we talked on the presentation, right? So now we're getting just some numbers, okay? And so we're going to move on to our next page. Okay, we got these numbers down, right? So we're going to say, okay, great. Listen, seems like we're going to put a great plan together. But before we leave here, right? If we're training MJ, I say, hey, look, because we don't do advertising, and I don't want MJ talking to a bunch of strangers. We want to ask you who you may know, whether it's family, friends, coworkers, or people that you know that in your hobbies, that you can refer to MJ. So she can help them and show them this information as well. Okay? Today we are just getting names. We're not getting their information. When we come back with your solutions, right? And you see that we helped you out on it, then we're going to ask for their contact information so MJ can talk to them. Right? On the training appointment, now MJ knows that person, right? If it's a personal appointment, all you have to say is, hey, I don't want to be knocking on doors. I don't want to be doing a lot of cold calling. Who do you know which can help me? Right? And you go through the same process.
And so what you said just now on the, if you're just doing it to someone you don't know, you ask them for the referrals,
Mhm.
obviously, and you said, do you get the contact or don't?
I do. I get the names first, and because we're doing this analysis for the person.
Or them?
And then I commit to them that if we can put a good game plan for them, then I would get their contact,
Okay.
right? Now, if the person says, "Ooh, I know someone already, like Eager," take the contact already. Yeah, don't just say no. Wait, get it. It's like, who else do you know? Who do you think would benefit? Some people are really nice like that. They would say, "Look, I think my niece, my nephew, 3 of my cousins, they need to hear what I just heard from you." Okay. If you help me with my analysis, that's great, but I think they should hear this. Grab the phone number and email. Okay. But I use that as a commitment to say, hey, I'm going to put a good game plan for you. Guess what's going to happen? My fee, what I'm saying is my fee is what? Some referrals. Right? Because remember, no fee for this. To put these builder analysis and all this other stuff. Illustration.
You're establishing a measure of trust.
Right. So if I can help you, then your way of helping me outside of doing business is the referral. Now you can print 3 of these, 1 of these, however you want.
Since I haven't done it, this is great for my situation right now to be able to do that. But then we go on the computer and what we reviewed last week,
And do
that
CRM.
with them, in front of them.
You can.
But
If you have your computer there, go on, put them on CRM already.
But as far as getting the actual, I guess, quote or whatever to them.
Yeah. So if they're like, Henry, I want to know, this is doing the plan, right? Because remember, they chose to do the plan or to be an agent, because those were your questions, right? Now, we're going to talk about, at the end, we're going to be talking about what you just said. which is sometimes they say, hey, I don't want the analysis. I don't want to be recruiting. I don't want to be part of the business. I just want a life insurance quote. Then you can do it on the spot, log into your builder illustration and do that. Okay? That's when they specifically tell you they just want a certain thing. Oh, I just want to start investing. Well, great. Like now I can go in there and run a scenario for investments. I don't need to pick up this whole information. Okay? This is when after the presentation, they say they want the analysis. Okay? Because remember, you ask them only if you wanted the analysis or you want to be working with us.
Opportunity
Or analysis, right? So that's why you're getting this information.
Well, I'll explain later. I'm just, right now, been, the whole week, I haven't worked because I tried to get a computer, got a computer anyway.
Yeah. So that right now the idea is to get what? The appointments. Because from the appointments you're going to be grabbing information. Now they might say, I don't want nothing, Henry. I just want a life insurance quote. Then you get your phone and then you get your iPad, whatever you're using, and run the builder's illustration and do it right there on the spot. Don't wait. Don't come back. Don't pick up any of this. Like if they're doing this, if they said they want a specific product, you're not doing none of this.
Right.
Right? You're just already going straight to the quote. You're doing everything right there on the spot. Right? Because some people are like that. They're like, I just want to, can you help me invest? I have $100 a month. Great, let's do it. Don't wait. Don't pick up this information and wait. Right?
and cater to their needs.
Yeah, because that's the end result is to tailor to their needs. Right? Now, once you do a life insurance application or an investment account, it would be on their CRM. On your CRM. And then we're going to talk about sending them campaigns and talk to them like that, right? More about all the other stuff and more about the recruiting part, right? But I want you to, the way we're going to train is by you doing an analysis, asking, do they want an analysis or do they want to be part of the business? Because that's more transferable and more duplicatable, right? You will get, because I always get it, you will get the people that don't want that and they just want something, one of your services right away.
They just want the product.
Which is one right away. And they will let you know they're pretty adamant about it. Right? But to present, I want you to present the way we were presenting last week. Right? Because if you're training someone, you're training Mr. Menard, you're showing them how to present what we talked about last week, that's duplicatable. Mr. Menard can know that. But if you're training him just based on what the client, you're not going to train him.
Take forever.
Yeah. Because one client might be policy only. Another client might be legal shield only. And he's doing different things in different appointments. But if we train one way how to explain everything, then he can learn, you can learn, I can learn, we can all learn faster, right? But yes, there's definitely going to be some times where the client just wants the product or service, right? You can also give them this as well, right? So you have these things, has tools in your tool belt. So if you did the product, then you can still give them the referral sheet. You can say, hey, listen, I know I helped you with your life insurance application. I don't want to be knocking on doors. Who do you know, right? And look, all this stuff is on the pages. Who do you know that's family, best friends, coworkers, or in your hobbies that can benefit from these things, right? So this would be a page that you're going to leave them or you can pick up and grab that information. So if you're doing this analysis, what I'm saying is, listen, I'm going to get some names down. I'm going to leave the paper with you sometimes. I just take a picture of it, right? But I leave the paper with them. When we meet again to talk about all these solutions, if you can have the contact, mobile, and email for them, I'm going to give you some great solutions and we're going to exchange, right? And you might know more people, but at least 4, 5, 6 people there. So make it a what? Value for value. Not just, hey, I'm going to get all your referrals and call your... No, That's not the purpose of it, right? So that would be this page. Again, the most important parts are going to be the contact information because they will be in your CRM. These are contacts. Again, you are getting in your CRM. Hey, good evening.
Hi.
Contacts you're getting on your CRM, right? And so we're going over that paper, Miss Karen. Yeah. So we're constantly adding to our CRM, right? We're picking up referrals from our appointments. We're picking up now in a couple of weeks, we're going to be going over the interview process. If you prospect or recruit and the interview that we're going to do, we're going to be talking about that. Even on that, we get some referrals, right? And so again, most important two parts of information are going to be the mobile number and the email, right? Those are going to be going into our CRM, right? Another thing that we want to leave behind for them is their budget worksheet. And again, I email it to them. You can email it. This is all going to be on a PDF form. You can email it to them, okay? You can just print out one page and give it to them, however you want. But this helps them start working on their budget worksheet, right? Where is their money going, right? Doing this for a long time, let me tell you, most people spend their money going out, eating, or some entertainment type of expenses. Most of their money, if not all of their money, right? And so we want to figure out if they can't commit to saving money for the future, then we got to figure out what's going on with their budget, okay? So this is a great page you can see here. Before, we want to talk about just to write their monthly budget, what they spend on all these things. And we're going to see if we can what? Save some money, make some adjustments, right? Instead of going out to eat 4 times a week, let's do 2 times a week or 3 times. Let's do it slow at a time, right? So for this, I want you to write in your notes, this is what I say when we're doing for budgets, right? It has worked for me forever, and this is how I learned to budget, okay? So we understand that we cannot go from spending a bunch of money to not spending anything. You can't do that. Most people can't, right? So this is what we're going to do. It's going to take us 3 to 4 months to get better at our budgeting. Okay? So our first month is going to be just writing down what we spend our money on. You're not going to make any adjustments. You're going to say, I spent $50 in gas. I spent $50 in food today in one day, right? Or whatever, right? So you're going to write that down. The first month, all you're going to do is write it down, right? Our second month, we're going to start adjusting, right? We're going to say, hey, I spent too much on here. I'm going to go out 3 times a week versus 4, right? That's where we're going to start adjusting monthly. That's going to be our second month, okay? Our third month, we're going to start adjusting on a paycheck basis, okay? From our paycheck, what goes to what goes to what, how did I spend this paycheck? Right? In our last month, we're going to go to weekly. I have a budget of X amount of dollars weekly. That includes my gas, my food, my whatever, right? Ideally, sometimes we might go over the budget. The problem is right now, no one has a budget. So they're like, oh, I can do it. I can do it. I can do it. But if they have a budget, their consciousness works. And they're like, well, this is above my budget. Next week, or I should start adjusting myself to be below my budget, right? Not to go over my budget. So consciously, they're already thinking about their budget versus not having a budget at all. And so that's how we're going to go to this extreme, to this way of looking at money. That helped me a lot because I was like that. I was like, I don't care. I'm going to spend whatever. That's why I work, to spend, right? But I was like 20 and I didn't know what I was doing, but no one was telling me, right? So by the time we ended up creating our budget after a couple of months, then we were like, hey, we have $50 a week, $100 a week. And with that, Henry, you should be able to eat, gas. If you want to buy a candy, if you want to do whatever, that should be enough. Okay? Now, do you go over it sometimes? Yes. It's not like you're always going to be 100%. But that gave me the ability to be what? Not super conscious of, oh my God, I can't spend. No, I have a budget, right? Sometimes I have appointments that I drive everywhere and I'm over my budget. Instead of $100 a week, I'm putting 150, right? Because I put gas twice instead of once or whatever, right? Or I didn't have time to eat, so I had to pass by getting something to eat. Sometimes I'm in the office all the time, some weeks, and I bring lunch. And my budget, instead of $100, I only spend like gas money. But if I don't have a budget, then I would be like, oh, I can eat whatever I want or do whatever I want. That's not good, right? We need to be good stewards of our money. So that's going to help people with their budget. So it's not from one day to another. You got to work with them, right? And this is what most companies don't do. They can give you a budget. They can give you an app, but no one is telling you how to go through it, okay?
I just added a little cooler, because right now in the summertime, it's the having water, not doing this all the time. But, just having some
Yeah.
water there.
And so again, you can work on how you want to, right? Get your budget together, but understand what the expenses are. Now, I used to teach at a church out there in Conroe. I used to teach. They used to have, I don't know, in the Catholic religion, they have what they call premarital classes when they're getting married, and so they teach. Obviously, are they comparable? And then also they teach the finance. I used to teach their finance class. I did this for like 3 years, right? So I used to tell all my new people that were going to be getting married, guys, you need to create this. How you create this budget, right? And y'all got to have goals to get individual and then together goals, right? And then I taught this a lot, so believe me, it works, right? Not only did it help me, but it works. Okay? Questions on the budgeting. So another way for them to save money, right? And they can put it towards their program, right? Your last page is for your notes, but I like to keep myself understanding what we're going to do, right? Just like, remember, I think we were talking to Mr. Menard earlier, like about his personal things. This is what we're going to do. This is what we want to do. 7 years, XYZ, we want to do this, right? So your last page kind of gives you a review of what you're going to bring them back. It says, okay, all this stuff we talked about, Mr. Bernard, our 3 objectives is to see how much money we can save, right? We want to retire early, and we want to save our kids for college, save some money. So we have 3. Sometimes it might be 2 goals or 1 goal. But this is putting all this information together for you when you come back, how you're going to be putting their plan together, okay? Trouble issues, oh man, they spend too much, right? I will write it on there. I will write it on there. Look, their budget is out of whack. They spend $300. They make $3,000 a month, and then their expenses are $3,500 a month, okay? So that's going to be a trouble issue. So their debt is going to be an issue. Another issue is they don't have a will, right? I would write that as another issue, right? They don't have an emergency fund. So I would write my trouble spots here so we can talk about those things as well, right? And then some more information on the current, that stuff that we didn't talk about. So if they say, oh, Henry, I forgot to tell you that I got a property that I'm going to sell. Or, oh, I forgot to tell you, I want to buy a house, but XYZ is going to be about a year or 2. This would be these situations here that there's not a space in the analysis for us to write down, okay? Because guess what, guys? If you know they're going to be selling a home or whatever, then we got to follow up with them, right? Because down the road, if they're going to have some income, they can use that money for retirement, whatever. That's what your job is, right? As a financial advisor, right? So you're putting all your thinking, all the stuff y'all talked about, you're putting yourself in a check off list on what to do, right? Because if we come back and I said, remember we were talking about this, and MJ's like, no, I don't remember. We can go back to here and say, hey, look, we wrote it down. This is what the exact number was, right? Does that make sense on that?
Yep.
All right. So that is the analysis, right? Remember, they say they wanted the analysis. And let me tell you, most people, that's their way out. When you present that 3-page presentation, their way out is doing the analysis, which is really nice because you're going to be able to help them in some form or fashion. But they're like, Henry, I think I want to do the analysis, right? Instead of working or doing a policy right away or doing whatever, their way out is doing the analysis, which is really great because most of them don't have an analysis anyway. Most of them don't have a financial plan or a person that helps them with their finances. All right? Questions on that part? All right. So when we come back, right, what are we going to use this information for, right? There's 2 sections, right? When we come back, all that information we took, we're going to use it for a couple of ones. Obviously, we're going to include it in their financial needs analysis. We're going to go in there, start inputting all this information. Has all the tabs, right? Has the retirement plan, has the insurance tab. It has all those, so we can input that information. And then we're going to use our builder illustration, remember, to do their commitment with their what? Cost of insurance and their investment plan, right? So we're going to have those 2 things with us. In the F&A portion, we can do their getting out of debt. We can tell them about, we can show them about our will program. This is where you're going to input all that information in, right? Now, ideally, the best way to do it is go in there and do yours, right? Because you have all your information. So go on the financial needs analysis or search yourself, because you should be a contact. Click on your contact, and then when you're in your contact, click on the F&A, and then you'll start doing your F&A, right? It'll ask you there how much you make a month. It'll ask you there when you want to retire. It'll ask you if you have kids. It'll ask you how much savings you have. It'll ask you all the stuff we just picked up there. It'll ask you all of that in there, okay? So, and then the plan comes together, and we say, okay, time to meet up. Always when we leave, we got to set up a next date to meet with their plan, right? Again, if they don't want to do the plan, they will tell you right away, I want to do a certain program. Henry, I want to do life insurance, right? Or I think we remember with Miss Karen, she's like, Henry, I need to save for retirement because I think I'm not saving enough, right? And so we went straight looking at what she has for TRS and all this stuff, right? So we didn't have to do a whole complete analysis. She knew what she needed the most help in. Right? And there's some people like that already know. And we can just jump right in there. Okay? Eventually, though, we still want to give them an analysis down the road. We want to make sure that they know of all the other things that we can provide for them. Right? That's where you're going to do, that's where you're going to input all that information. Right? The second option was being a teammate. They said, Henry, I think I just need to make some more money. I want to be licensed. I want to start getting licensed. I like the programs. I want to do what y'all guys are doing. Or I want a new career, or I want something part-time, whatever their thing is. So now we're going to know what we're going to do with that, okay? So we're going to jump right into, there's 2 ways that we're going to do their application. One is going to be on paper, which no one does it no more, right? But you still have the option. I have some paper applications. The reason we don't want to do it on paper is because we have to mail the paper out, okay? And that takes a week. Right? We don't want to do that, right? But the other option is doing it what? Electronically, okay? So we have on paper or electronically. So paper is really simple. You just get the application, their personal information, get their payment information. We send the paper out. Not a big deal, okay? But if we're doing online, so we're going to jump right away. Online, you see here, we're going to go where it says Primerica app, right? From our desktop, we're going to go to Primerica app, and then on there is going to pull up our mobile app, right? It's going to pull up our mobile app, and then guess what? We're going to go to Turbo Apps. Okay, we're going to click the little 3 lines, and we're going to go to Turbo Apps. Right? And then this is what's going to show up. And you're going to have an option on there. It says Start New IBA. So you're doing the application for them right there on the spot. Right? Or if you're on Zoom, or if they say, Henry, I don't have time right now, then we're going to send them the link so they can fill it out themselves. right? So we're going to go up there where it says get my IBA link, right? And you're going to see a couple of ways you can highlight the link there, and it'll be your personal link. Highlight it, copy it, text it, email it, however you want to do that. Or if you're on your phone here, you can see, click on the little share, and it's going to say email or copy the link. That is your personal link. So when you send it to them, it's going to, when they click on it, they're going to start doing the application. Automatically, you're the recruiter. Okay?
So when you click on share, if you copy it, if you copy the link, okay, so then you would then paste it wherever you want.
Wherever you want.
Whereas if you just put email, you just put their email address. And
Yeah, if it says email, it'll open whatever email app you use. If it's, Google, Yahoo, whatever, it'll go through your phone and it'll open it up for you, and then it'll copy the link and then you just put their email and send it out. But it's going to be through your personal email, right? Or whatever app you're using on your phone at that time, okay? So I sometimes, I like texting a lot, so I'll just copy the link and I just copy it on my text and send it to them, right? And so, but I always give them a time frame. So with this, don't just send it to them. Say, well, great, listen, I'm going to send it to you right now. It expires after a couple of days, but I tell them, so look, it's going to expire. So as soon as you submit it, let me know, because I need to go in and okay it, because you do need to go back in and submit it. It's not going to automatically submit itself, right? After they do everything, sign and everything, you're going to go back to your IBA desktop, and it's going to say here, Mr. Menard, incomplete. And then you're going to go in their app and then submit it, right?
So the whole time you're in the loop.
Yeah. So you always want to be on that loop for them. Yeah. So I tell them, look, it's going to expire soon. So I would say do it within the next 24 to 48 hours. And I'm like, if you have any issues, call me or text me. I can guide you through the process. Yeah. Most of the time, there's going to be background issues. If they have a background issue, ask a lot of questions about background. It has background, it'll say misdemeanors, felonies, bankruptcies, and sometimes they don't kind of understand the question. They can call me or text you on that, right? But that's how you would do it. If you're there, you do it, right? Get on, start the new IBA, ask their name, their social. That's when they ask all that good information, right? And always a good phone number and a good email. Okay, good phone number, good email. Because most of the stuff, they're going to have to sign something. Right? Questions on that? All right, so that's,
I got a question.
yeah.
So once we submit it, how soon do we get a reply?
Once you submit it on this one, most of them get their solution number or their rep number within 24, 48 hours. If it's a weekend, it's probably Monday, right? Before they get an email, and they'll say, welcome, and they'll give them their rep number, right? And then you would say, congratulations, on your email, on your Primerica email, say, congratulations, such and such got accepted. And, please help them. It has a generic email. Help them go through the licensing process, right? So you'll have that information on there. But yeah, 24 to 48 hours, right? And then the next thing you want to do is start setting up a orientation for them, right? If you know how to do an orientation, then you can do it. If not, one of us will help you. But in orientation, we go through the portal. Remember, we give you the study material. We give you the links. We show you how to do a CRM. We show you all the basics that you really gotta know to maneuver your portal, that kind of stuff, right? But I would say do that orientation 24 to 48 hours after you submit this application. Yeah.
So theoretically, we could come to the office or we could meet.
Zoom or Meet Out, yeah. So ideally, all this stuff can be on your phone, iPad, right? You don't have, it doesn't have to be in person, or it can be on your Zoom computer, whatever you want to do. Okay. That is the orientation, right? So for appointments, we go back to appointments, right? The ideally is to do more appointments so you can get more familiar with the analysis, so you can get more familiar with recruiting on your appointments, the process of the analysis, process of doing the independent business applications, right? So these are the statistically, these are our numbers. Out of 8 appointments, which qualified means, remember, own a home, are married, have kids, certain age, are working, all right? Out of those, 5 are going to request to do a financial needs analysis.
That's a high number.
Yeah, because I'm telling you, that's their way out.
Yes.
Their way out, instead of being rude, they say, okay, we'll do the financial needs analysis, right? 6 of them, though, will become some form or fashion an investment client, a legal shield client, an auto and home client, or a debt solution, which means they want to learn how to get out of debt, right? 6 of those. 3 of them will do life insurance applications with you. 3 out of the 5 that did an analysis. And 1 out of those 8 would want to get their license and work with you. Those are the statistics on the appointments, right? Again, if we're doing the same appointments and training everyone, this should be a good news for us, right? Because if we have 3 reps and we're basically on 16 appointments, right? We have almost 24 appointments, right? 6 times 3, right, is 18 will be some form or fashion a client. We'll probably get 3 to 4 new teammates and about 9 to 10 new policies, right? If we do our due diligence of doing appointments, right? Can you do 4 as a part-timer? The goal, you can be able to do 4, right? Now, also, if we're inviting these people to our How Money Works as well, it's another chance for us to talk to them about being part of the business or adding more services to what they already have, right? But this is how you can make great money and stay consistent, doing appointments, all right? So doing the process to me, the process is better than focusing on just one product or one service, right? This gets us faster to our watch and our ring, right? Our watch is $50,000. Our ring, if you make $100,000 a year, right, or more. So understanding the appointments, the amount of appointments we need to do to make a certain amount of money. So we don't need to be, I say we don't need to be good or super good at all this stuff. We just need to understand the numbers and the process. Be consistent. What ends up happening though is you end up becoming really good at this stuff, right? You can do, like I tell you, if I'm training someone, I can tell the first maybe minute if it's going to be a good appointment or not. Because you've done so many, right? And what ends up happening is this same client I've seen 10, 20, 30 times. Yes. Whether they're, husband and wife, I've seen this client 10 times already in the past year. And I know this person does this, that person does that. And I already know how to maneuver around it. And I already know what to say, what not to say, right? If they're a single person, I've seen that person a bunch of times too, because I've done a bunch of those appointments, right? If I've seen a person that's younger, older, and that's how you get better, by doing a lot of those, right?
Practice makes perfect.
Yes, right? And so, a couple of tips here, right? While we're doing these appointments and we're going through the process, right? 1, I always say work with everyone. Okay? sometimes they might not be at the place where you would want them to be, but work with them, right? I wasn't, when I came into this business, at the place where I wanted to be. And somebody gave me a shot, right? Because I was 20-something years old and didn't know nothing. So, but someone said, hey, you can work out of this office. Gave me a shot, right? So I always say, well, hey, work with them, right? Whether they're going faster or not. Consistently work with them, right? One, be a perfect example. And by perfect doesn't mean that you're doing everything you're supposed to, but hey, understand that you're a working process, right? Or you're in the process of getting better, right? So if you want your new guy or the new person to do more appointments, then you try doing some appointments, right? Kind of be the example on that. It helps a lot, believe me. Like the founder of our company says, you beat 90% of the people by showing up. Because most of them don't even want to do that. Okay? And so always do what you're going to say, right? It's okay to say no, and I can't. I tell everyone, can you make it or can you do this? Oh, yeah, Henry, I'll be there. I'm like, hey, just let me know if you can't. Right? Because when you say something to me, because I would do what I say, right? If I tell you, hey, I'm going to have Friday training, you expect me to be here Friday doing some training at 7 p.m., right? And so it's okay. You don't have to do anything, but at least say, Henry, I'm not going to be able to make it this week. Or guess what? Something happened. I'm not going to be able to do that. Okay, well, great. We can work on it next week, or we can work on whatever. The world's not going to end, right? But I think it's better if you can communicate on that, right? The little things, right? Because then that is going to get you better on the bigger things, right? I know a lot of people that have their own office that don't do training sometimes, do training sometimes, and sometimes they do, and then their team don't know what to do, right? It's because they're inconsistent, so now their team's going to be inconsistent, okay? Consistently talk about where you're going, right? That's really important, right? I'm going to be an RVP. I'm going to get my license, right? First of all, it helps you stay focused on where you're going. And second, the people, your team or the people or your peers, they're like, okay, they're going for something. They're not just don't have any goals, right? So whatever it is, whether it's small or big, it doesn't matter. Hey, I want to win the next trip. I want to do whatever. Talk about those things that you want to do. Okay. Couple of other tips here. Some will, some won't. So what? Okay. That's kind of not being mean about it, but you are going to find some people, again, that tells you from the beginning, yes, I'm going to do this, and they don't answer my call, right? I can't dwell on it, okay? But I can teach the Karen. I can teach, Mr. Menard, right? So just remember that too. Some people are going to disappoint you, okay? But that doesn't mean the next one will disappoint you, right? Keep showing up and getting better. Like it says, 90% of the people, you beat them by showing up, all right? It's really simple. Have a help others attitude, okay? I think that's really important in any business that's with people, right? If I can help you, you can help the peers, I can help the office. Anything helps, right? That is a good attitude to have, right? We're in the people business, right? Everyone's in the people business, which I don't understand, right? But hey, if you want your team to help others, then you help them. Okay, really simple, not too complicated, right? Do your own analysis. I do mine at least once a year. Just again to get back on track. Sometimes I have stuff on autopilot and I forget, right? And so, for example, I buy company stock through company profit sharing. I buy it every month and I just let it go. And next thing you know, when I'm doing my analysis, I'm like, oh man, I got so much more because I let this, I started buying some of these. So anyway, to get back on what you're doing, do your analysis. Go log back in there. Are you progressing towards what you want to do? Or are you, hey, you're not being that proactive about it, you can start again being proactive about it. So it helps you understand, and also it brings you more confident, right? Because some people are going to ask you, Karen, have you done your own financial needs analysis? All right. Have you done your own savings plan? Have you done your own policy? Some people ask you all that all the time, right? Either you're going to lie or you're going to tell the truth, right? So you're going to say, yeah, I have my investment product, right? Or you're going to say yes, but you're not telling the truth, right? So, but again, get in there once a year. It doesn't have to be every quarter or anything. Some people are really, really specific about it, but at least once a year, do your own analysis. Go in there, input your numbers, and say, hey, I'm moving towards something better, or, oh, I'm slacking off. I need to get back on, saving and so forth, okay? So it's just a couple of tips. And remember, all of the presentations, they're going to be different. Not all of them are going to be the same, right? But as you do more, you're going to learn how to maneuver that stuff, right? Next month, we're going to talk about our STAR system, which talks about characters, like identifying each person. That helps a lot when you're doing this, right? Like Mr. Menard, I know Mr. Menard is technical, right? So, when I tell Mr. Menard about our investment stuff, and he's like, send me an email with XYZ, XYZ, right? So guess what? I wasn't technical at first. I had to learn how to be technical. I was like, well, don't you just get it? If you just put this amount of money, you're going to have this amount of money. That's an action type of person, right? I'm not going to help Mr. Menard by doing that, right? There's other people like Olympia. I know she's on right now. She's a R personality, right? Relationship, right? She likes giving you a hug, welcoming, and all that stuff. I had to learn how to be that too, right? Because if we have a person that's like that, how recruited Olympia? I had to be an R, right? I have to learn some of those characteristics. And I can't input my character on her, right? You got to learn how to work with them. So that really helps. We're going to talk about that next month, because that's really going to be helpful while you're going through the presentation and all that good stuff, right? It shows you what some of the things to hit on more versus not to for certain characters, right? So that helps a lot, right? Because we're in a people person type of business. So let's see, I think we have, yeah, so I think that's it. Any questions you guys may have? Oh, here you go. We have Olympia on there. Perfect. She says she's driving. Any questions I have on that? So y'all have those in there. I'm gonna post a PDF on Telegram so y'all can download it, keep it. Again, I like to keep it on my iPad and I write over it, and then when I put the information on the computer, then I erase it. Right? I don't have to.
Okay. So you're down. It's a PDF.
Uh-huh.
So you fill it out. That's what you're saying.
Uh-huh.
You save it, but then you delete it.
Well, yeah, because remember, you're gonna come back and input it in your analysis in your portal. Then after that, I can erase whatever I wrote on that.
If you could please, yes, because I lost, since it's a different, that number I have,
Mhm.
I believe I just downloaded it right now. I couldn't get into my phone. I just tried again. And I downloaded Telegram. If you could start me up again.
Yeah, perfect. So next Friday, it's already the 1st, I think. Is it?
Yeah, next Friday.
Yeah, next Friday is going to be the 30th. Okay. So next Friday, we're going to do our how many works. Okay. So we can start inviting as many people as we want. Right. So we're going to have some light snacks. Right. And then we're going to be talking about how many works on that.
Should we bring anything?
If you want to bring a snack, that's fine. I typically have some drinks, light snacks. Sometimes maybe we'll have pizza or something, but something for them. Again, we try to go by less than an hour. We're not trying to keep them here forever, right? And if they're going to be here with some snacks, that should be good. Anyone, whether they're a client or not, or they're 18 and up, I would invite them, right? And I'm gonna post a flyer on there already on Telegram. You can use that flyer, send it out, and then just make sure they reserve with you how many people we're gonna have, so we can have enough snacks and stuff. Right? So before we head out, I'm gonna kind of explain that process, because that is gonna help you a lot too whenever we do that, or that how many works. Right? We're gonna have a form on there. I don't have it out there, but there's a form that we have that we're going to give to all new people. Okay. That form basically says name, email, and phone number, right, for your CRM. It has some referral if they know anyone that would want to do this or need help. And then also has two options. I want to be a client and I'm interested in life insurance, investments, will, or whatever. Or I want to learn more about getting licensed, and I'm interested in that. Those are the two options that they have on there. So when the presentation is done and we have new people, there is no what do you think about it? How was your day? The two questions are right there, right? What did you like most? Do you want to be a client? And most of the times they already fill it out and they have like a check on it. So just look at the paper and say, oh, Karen, I see that you wanted more information on wills. Well, great. Let's sit over here and I'm going to give you some information, show you what the program is all about, and see if it's something that's going to benefit you. If they check on there, they want to be a what? A license. They're interested in getting licensed, being a rep. You can say, oh, I see Karen here. You're interested in getting licensed, being a rep. Let me show you the application that we got to fill out. Yeah, just learn how to fill out the application, right? On here, the cost is X. We already talked about the cost on the presentation, so you don't even have to explain that. So say, okay, are you ready? It's really simple. All right, let's log in and do your application. Right? Everything is right there, so you don't have to waste their time or waste your time. Right? And I will explain in the how many works. We explain everything, right? We explain the insurance, we explain the will, we explain the how many works, we explain all that. So that is a great way to do that. Instead of doing 8 appointments individually every night, you can bring 8 people and do 8 appointments in one day. And that cuts down in your time. Right? The most important about that is the invite. You got to make sure you confirm it. Right? So when you send it out, the invitation, please reserve 1 or 2 seats. I got to make sure we have enough snacks for you guys, that kind of stuff. Reserve it. When they get they say, yes, I'm going to be there 2 seats for me, and then the day before. Right? Use it as a reminder, and then also it confirms again if they're coming or not. All right. So that statistic for that is a little bit better. Out of 4 people that you have, 1 becomes a rep and 2 become a client. Statistics are a lot better because now you have people, they see other people doing, right? Sometimes, like last time I had my client, remember my client came? So typically I'll have a client kind of do a testimony, and it's more real than, us just doing an appointment for them. And they feel more comfortable. They're in an office setting and so forth, right? Yeah, that's the point. So again, in the invites, is out of 10, 2 will come. That's kind of how that works as well, right? But just again, it's just the confirmation part. Hey, how many people? Yeah, and then then that day before, confirm again, right? Questions on that one? All right, awesome. We are good for today. Hopefully you guys learned a lot. I will put that PDF up there. What I would suggest too, over the weekend or Monday, since we're off, go in there and do your own analysis. It helps you understand the process on that. And if you have any questions on that, you can let me know. Thank you guys for being on. Got Teresa on there, and then we have Olympia. Awesome. You guys have a great weekend. Talk to you guys later.